Hey guys, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast here. Joined this afternoon by Kiev O'Neill, president of the OddsBreakers. Kiev, how's your day treating you?
It's going well. I went on vacation over the weekend, so I'm still in slight recovery mode. I think I'm up to 90%, so doing the best I can. We went to Cabo San Lucas, and you know how it is out there, and lots of things to do, let's just say. And now I'm just like decompressing and just having a blast. I was still able to bet on sports and watch a few down there, but we were just focused on having fun. And you got to do that. You got to take a break from
Yeah,
the industry sometimes. But I'm doing
absolutely you
wonderful.
do. So did you spend your time on the beach or by the pool?
Both, really. I mean, our beach was cool because the beach area is like a cove, and it like went down over your head and like probably like 10 to 20 feet in. It was kind of crazy. And then the undertow would take you a little bit, but it wasn't that dangerous because it wasn't as bad of a slant, I guess. But either way, there was bars on both sides. Of course, there's swim up bars. We stayed at the Paradisus Los Cabos, which is in between Cabo and the airport, and it was all inclusive. And if you like to have fun, I definitely recommend all inclusive. Everything adds up pretty quick, and you don't have to worry. You're paid for the day. We
Yeah.
brought like $100 in like just $1 bills, $100 in fives, $100 in tens, just for tips. You know, it's kind of how you roll.
That is awesome. Hard to come home from that, but definitely worth coming home to everything that you have going on. Tell me about what you do over at the OddsBreakers.
So the OddsBreakers is a sports betting website for it's like I like to think of it as like the athletic of sports betting, you know, in a way. It's newspaper based, it's article based, you know, it's people that have passion, it's people that like to write, you know, expressing their views. They want to say why things are. It's not just like a pick selling type place. You know, we have memberships, we have premium members that help support us and our costs, and obviously our cappers that are doing a great job every single day. We have a philosophy that the selling picks on a daily basis, waiting it for like a Saturday or Sunday to buy them. Lines can get very stale and not going to be what you actually bet them during the week. So I like more of the membership type level where when we make the plays, we send them out that second, right when we're hitting bet, you know, and that way, hopefully you didn't move the line that much, and it gives your customers opportunities to get those same opportunities you have when you bet. That's our philosophy at the Odds Breakers, is kind of more of a membership type thing. You bet when we bet, and we have people set up you know, their Gmails to text and things like that, so they make sure they get everything immediately.
Absolutely. That's a great philosophy. Now, where was the company born from?
I actually came up with the concept back in 2016, 2017. So this is our sixth season actually here
Wow.
from a podcast. I started podcasting pretty much right in the beginning, and was crazy. Probably first 1% of podcasts out there because there's just exploded after that. But the fact that I got in early gave me more opportunity to meet people that were willing to be on the show. Now people get so many requests. It's just like, you know, the well-known people say no, but I got a lot of those great friends nowadays that we talk to every single day. And it's just been a blessing, and it's a passion of mine. You know, I love betting on sports. I always wanted to talk about it. My idols were guys like Adam Burke from Bang the Book, Gil from VSIN, and, you know, just kind of the first podcasts out there. I always look for podcasts before they were even out, because I was one of the I was probably one of the first people that quit listening to sports radio. I got sick of the commercials. Like at least
Yeah.
at least 50% of it's commercials, whether they're talking about the car dealership or having actual commercials. So I got sick of it, and I said, you know what, podcast, you know, there might be minimal 1 minute of commercials for a
Yeah.
90-minute show. So I was like, I'd rather listen to something more niche and exactly what my interests are, and that's sports betting. So that's how I started looking for them. But when I couldn't find as many, I'm like, might as well start it myself because I love to talk about it, Joe.
Oh, I love that. And I hear you on those commercials. They just always make me hungry. They make me want to go to the fridge. So,
Yeah, that too.
right now, looking at this company, everything you've done, where did the passion originally come from for sports?
Well, my dad loves sports, of course. And the funny thing about sports betting is I think there's more sports bettors that come from towns that their teams suck. And the
Okay.
reason that is because if you're watching like the Bears and the Cubs fail so long for over the years, the Blackhawks were bad for a long time. You had your 90s Bulls, but then they become bad. It's just like you want a little bit more skin in the game because you love sports. You played them in high school, right? And so, you start being like, well, I think this team's going to win. You start watching other games. You're like, well, maybe I'll have a little skin in this game. This spread is wrong. You come up with your own ideas why it's wrong. And then you're like, I want to put a little money on this. And of course, it all stems up from everything in life is a gamble, but you can easily monetize it by putting it into a sports betting perspective with the odds. And obviously, it's the juice. Nowadays, lines are sharp, and it's the best people to the market that are the true sports winners.
Now, I have to ask you, can you turn anything into a bet? Because I think a lot of people don't realize how easily it is. Once you get into this industry, it's like, I bet you'll have more than 3 coffees today, even to yourself. Are you the same way?
Yeah, I guess. It's funny. I'm more like I'm so betting on sports. Sometimes I want to get away from it when I'm talking about coffee or other things, So it almost has a reversed effect on me. I mean, I suppose back when I first started, I'd probably be like, I bet you can't do that. I bet you can't do that. But now it's like, I already have bet. Like my friends will come up to me and, I bet you the Bears lose. And I'll be like, well, you will bet the spread, and they'll come up with me some piddly $20 or something. And it's like, it's to keep your money.
I don't like betting amongst friends. That's for sure. I'll bet for drinks against friends, but that's about it.
Yeah, drink something honorable, But
Yeah.
if it's the case, it's like I bet way more and way more often. I don't need to have a bet with you about something. You're my friend. Let's just do something else.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you on that. Now we've got some great NBA finals coming about right now. We have the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors tonight. Any thoughts on this one?
It's funny. I mean, this game's been kind of going over and under, and while the Celtics has been dead under for the most part. NBA is funny for me. I don't bet it much during the regular season. I'm so focused on college basketball. During March Madness, I was 46-27. Actually,
Wow.
I'll tracked on BetStamp professionally, and it's after doing that, I don't like focusing on multiple sports. I think you're going to be bad at both if you try to do too many things or maybe good at one thing. That's why I always talk about conference specialization. But I do get into the NBA in the playoffs because the NBA is easier to predict in the playoffs. There's in teams, guys taking nights off. You don't know when they're out late, the club, you don't know. They could be a dead start and then all of a sudden pulled right before the game. There's just so much ambiguity when it comes into it. And at least with the playoffs, that they're all pretty motivated. You do bet the motivation game, and sometimes first quarter bets are great, and that's what I've been doing really well in. Just tweeted out my record yesterday in the NBA over the past year. It's positive, and we have a good ROI. And if anyone wants to check our Twitter at the OddsBreakers, you'll see that tweet. But I'm happy to just kind of focus in on just NBA in the playoffs. But you pick your spots, and it's really more of a motivation, creative handicap than analytical for me.
Absolutely. I love how you bring up return on investment because I think a lot of people don't look at that. If you go back and you just bet the favorites over time, you're going to lose money. How are you taking ROI into account when you're thinking for your clients?
ROI is everything. It means everything. It's because if they're going to invest a ton of money, your ROI being small, it just really depends upon how much you want to grow it. Maybe I could have bought a mutual fund that would have been better, right? So I think ROI is the most important way to look at it, especially when you're betting money lines. It's in the UFC, I might be like 45%, 40%, but have a massive ROI because I'm a winning guy. I'm taking plus money. I'm taking props, and so ROI, that's the only way to judge baseball and UFC and even hockey, I think, is ROI. Football, a lot of people do over under ATS, maybe some props, which is always yes or no. Is very, minus 110s in general, right? Don't get ripped off, shop your lines. But that's why ROI is the most important thing. If I'm putting money out there, I want to see how much ROI I'm getting on my investment.
Absolutely, you do. Now, NFL is right around the corner. Anything you're looking at early?
I did my NFC North research, and I did a podcast on it this week at the OddsBreakers. I hate to say it, and I'm a Bear fan. You can see Soldier Field behind me, but I think they're not going to be that good this year. I'm sad to say, but you got so many changes. The regime changed with the coach. You got the GM gone. You lost two of your three best players in Khalil Mack and probably Akeem Hicks, and Roquan Smith's all that's left. Fields might turn out, but it won't be this year. Who's their wide receivers again, right? It's like
Yeah.
nobody knows these names really. They lost Allen Robinson, right? I mean, of course, I know a few of them, Mooney and a couple other guys that we're bringing in, but Pringle just got arrested in Florida. It's like they just made some bad moves, and with a bad franchise, you can never be cautiously optimistic. You have to be cautiously pessimistic. I'll doubt that they get the six wins. The number is 6.5, so that's a strong lean of mine onto the under. But at the same time, I like a different angle in the NFC North. I like what the Vikings did in free agency. They got Zadarius Smith, a pass rusher from the Packers. And you have to remember, Danielle Hunter has been hurt the whole year last year. So they're going to fix their pass rush. Plus, they got Seen and Booth, one of the top two secondaries in the draft. It's like when you plan to beat a quarterback, you have to have good secondary, and your pass rush makes everything. Well, they fixed that. They also got some run stoppers. They got Hicks from free agency from Arizona. I really like what they did, and they're going to be a lot more healthy now on offense. Delvin Cook's going to be rolling. I think the Vikings are going to make the playoffs. You can get a plus 100 on it. Now, their season win total is 9, juice the over at minus 115. That tells you that they'll probably make the playoffs anyway. But why would you take 9 juice the over minus 115 if you think you're going to push at 9 maybe? A 9's probably going to get you in the playoffs. But in the NFC, I don't think it's as good as the AFC. I think the NFC, there's a chance you might get that horrible NFC East that we got 2 years ago when a 7-win team got the playoffs. You could get to the playoffs with 8 wins possibly, right? But I think
crazy.
Rather than pushing, I think you're going to make the playoffs at 9. I think you possibly can at 8. You definitely will at 10, most likely. I like the plus 100 on the Vikings making the playoffs. Pains to say that as a Bears fan, Joe.
Yeah, so you have faith in Kirk Cousins, and we all know Kirk Cousins has struggled in those primetime games. You think we see an improvement on him this year?
It's do or die for Kirk Cousins. I think that I've seen him do so many good things, but his weapons with Jefferson and there's a couple other guys just lost train of thought. Yeah, he's Delvin Cook back there to dump it down to. They still got Mathis. I just think that they have too many weapons for him to not be good. And I think that they fixed some things on the offensive line. Zimmer did some stupid things, and the coach they hired, O'Connell from the Rams, it has been in the McVay system. So I love that. It's almost like LaFleur when he came from there. Look at what he did with the Packers. This could be the same type of thing that you said. And they got a Fangio guy as well for the defensive coordinator. And I think he's going to make a big impact as well. So between Ed Donatel, the Fangio guy that's been under Fangio for all these years, and Kevin O'Connell, I think the Vikings have a very good shot here of making the playoffs. I like them this year.
Okay, that would be good to see for Minnesota fans for sure. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay? Do you think this is a good situation for this team still?
I mean, Rodgers is good. He hasn't done it enough in the playoffs. He has as many NFC championships wins as Rex Grossman, us Bears fans like to say. Of course, Grossman doesn't have the Super Bowl win, but here's the thing with Rodgers. Packer fans are starting to get upset with him. He had a lot of drama last year, if you remember, but then all of a sudden he gets paid $50 million a year. These are the reasons that Devontae Adams had to go. They can't afford him. This is why Valdez-Scantling had to go. Zadarius Smith, Lucas Patrick, their guard. It's just, they lost so much because of what they're paying a guy, and that's just the law of the land. But they have to hit reboot again, and it's just like at some point people are going to figure out LaFleur. And it's just last year was their year. They should have done it. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to win the division, and I do have them at 11.4 wins. I think might be a little bit tad high from my numbers, but I don't. That's why I think the Vikings just betting them to make the playoffs and not win the division might be the better thing. And if they do win the division with 9 wins somehow, maybe Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. Well, they're in the playoffs anyway. So there's a lot of different ways to hit this thing.
That's true. I just have to wonder what the thoughts are of Jordan Love sitting on the bench still for Green Bay and the Packers. How he's mentally handling that? Do you think he's liking being under Aaron Rodgers and not being able to get a chance at the field? Because we've seen so many other rookies get that chance on the field.
He says it for public image, but his body language tells me that he's fine being a backup quarterback. When he went out there, he struggled. I don't think he's
Absolutely, he
in,
did.
he doesn't seem all that super competitive to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but you have to be hyper competitive in the NFL. He was competitive at Utah State, I believe it was, but he just the NFL is just such a different animal, and you need just absolute
Yeah.
pure mental preparedness, and I don't think he's there. You look at a lot of these guys that did great in college, and they don't pan out. It's just
Yep.
he was picked late in the first for a reason. I think the Packers kind of realized they screwed that up. But the good news for the Packers is I love their draft. Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt, both from Georgia. I think they were fantastic defensive picks. So Packers will be a very interesting team, to say the least. And it's all up to Aaron Rodgers to keep that team rolling. W'll see what happens.
Absolutely. So we have to laugh at the scheduling of the Denver Broncos with why am I drawing a blank? Wilson headed into
Well,
Seattle for that opening game. What are your thoughts on how the schedule laid out for that?
I think it's funny. I think that it's definitely a story piece, but us as fans think differently. The Seattle Seahawks the players knew that he had to go probably, and let's face it, he was traded. He wore out his welcome there. They're probably they're gonna cheer for the guy. Probably he won a Super Bowl there. It's not as big as the media makes, because once you get in there, you're playing football.
Yeah.
The funny thing, he plays against the defense. The guys he played with on the is different. He's playing against Denver's defense. Seattle's defense. He's gonna be on their offense. There's no difference there. No bad blood. These guys are professionals. They care about their wallets. They're not as faithful as fans. I think it's going to be overblown, but maybe maybe that'll affect the line. That's one I'm going to wait on.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting season ahead of us. I want to thank you so much for sitting here and breaking down some of these games with us. Can you tell me a little bit more about where people can find everything that you've got going on?
So check me out at the oddsbreakers.com. We have free picks every day, pretty much every sport that's bet. We have some great cappers there. If you like what you see and want to use it as an investment and get great plays, we have packages out there, and our NFL packages will probably be released around June. But right now you can just be monthly and get everything right now into the NFL season as well. You get on us monthly, you're not going to get any price increase. You can get the rest of baseball, rest of hockey, rest of the NBA. But we just have a blast at the OddsBreakers. We don't care. We just put out plays and have fun, and it's all of a community of trying to get the best line to have you at least beat the books. The books will always be there, but if you can beat the books, that's a great thing.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. You guys, I will be back at the top of the hour. Kiev, have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks so much, Joe, for having me on.
Thank you.